variety of partners and the staff that we have here in Durango and in Silverton. We are an independent nonprofit research and education mountain center that is based on helping our communities to develop the science that they need to understand the issues of today and to put that science into action, such as adding to decision-making processes like this one. And we have been participating as partners in the Animas watershed that we took. We started monitoring at Rotary Park around 10 a.m. and we monitored until we saw the plume arrive, which got to the Rotary Bridge about 10:30 at night, when you could see a discoloration if you're standing there with your headlamps, kind of like geeks like we are. We noticed the color intensified until we ran out of bottles at 12:30, and that was our last sampling point that night. We took a break, got a little sleep, came back at it at 10 a.m. the next morning. pH is a really rough measure. It's a vital sign for what's going on in the water column. Durango Animas River section usually benefits from fairly clean water. An average pH when we started about 7.8. And you can see that even though we missed what might have been the full depth of the plume, we did notice that by 10 a.m. we were back into that above 7 range, and that by Sunday at 6 a.m. we seem to have stabilized in that area. Obviously, there's a lot more that's important about chemistry that's related to metals, and some of that information will be in the EPA's water quality data and our water quality data. We have submitted that for sampling, but just like everyone else, it takes time. So with that, though, we have at least this one indicator for what was going on in Durango when the plume.
Hello, I'm Scott Roberts, aquatic ecologist with the Mountain Studies Institute. So I'm just going to talk for just a couple of minutes about macroinvertebrates. We're talking about benthic macroinvertebrates, and I know many of you fish, so you probably know exactly what we're talking about. The important thing about benthic macroinvertebrates and why they're an important piece of evidence for us is that they're benthic, meaning they live on the bottom of the river. So not only are they exposed to the water column and the water chemistry of that water column, but they're also exposed to the sediment that they live in on the bottom of the river. So they're excellent indicators of changing environmental conditions, as changing water chemistry as well as changing physical habitat that they live in. So we immediately went down to Rotary Park, as Marcy indicated, and started sampling for benthic macroinvertebrates to get a sense of that community there at that location that we could compare later observations to after the plume arrived. We also were able to run up to 32nd Street, where I've been sampling for a couple of years, and we have historical benthic macroinvertebrate samples for 20 plus years, so that we could also catch that community before the plume arrived, and to be able to monitor how it changed over time. So that was on Thursday the 6th, before the plume arrived, and then Friday I was able to go back the next day. That's about 20 hours after the plume arrived. Hello, good. So the benthic macroinvertebrates would have been exposed to the plume for about 20 hours at that time. And I was able to take follow-up samples there. We're going to take follow-up samples in a few days at about 72 and even 96 hours of exposure. We're going to wait a few weeks, check on those communities again, and this is going to be a long-term effort. We're going to see both whether or not acute, short-term changes in the community occurred, whether bugs immediately died or not. We're also going to be able to track that long-term to see how those bugs respond to chronic exposure to the plume. What we do, I can share some anecdotal data of just kind of going out there and taking samples. What we'll do is actually preserve the bugs in alcohol, look at them very closely under a scope to really tell all that we would like to know about the benthic community. But anecdotally, I can tell you that at 20 hours of exposure and also at about 60 hours of exposure, most of the dominant taxa that you see in the Animas River that we're used to seeing were still alive. So that's a piece of good news that beta mayflies, hydrocycid was still alive, black flies. I know there's a detail some of you don't care about, but the bottom line is that many of the insects survive that first plume, and that is good news. Caution though, because we could see some different results from more chronic long-term monitoring of those bugs.